My name is Ian.
Ian? Hey, you? What is your name?
My name is Quỳnh Anh.
Queen Anne. Beautiful. Can I see your cat, Queen Anne? Ah, what a beauty. I think this one's lonely.
No.
Nice to meet you, girls.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The area around Trangan is famous for rice fields set against rugged limestone hills. It abounds with free-flowing rivers, steep cliffs, and ancient pagodas and citadels surrounding what's left of the first Vietnamese dynasty's capital from 1,000 years ago.
If you're looking for beauty and solitude where you can mingle with locals and tap into the culture of Vietnam's agrarian countryside, you'll be hard-pressed to do any better than this. I'm at the Trangan Riverview Homestay. I've got to tell you that this place and others like it are just what you want if you're looking for peace and quiet and a kind of break from the usual hustle of travel. I'm just outside my bungalow facing a small lagoon at the base of a steep cliff, and it's absolutely magical with the gentle sound of birds during the day and the song of insects and frogs frolicking in the lagoon at night. If you can't unwind here, you can't unwind anywhere. So the plan this morning is to take a boat trip down the Sao Key River about 3 kilometers from here. This isn't just any river. The river passes under one of these mountains through caves. So I think it's time to get going. Good morning. Okay. What is your name? I have a de facto private boat ride. The sweet Vietnamese lady who is doing all the work probably speaks no English. So I will not expect a lot of explanation. We're entering a cave under one of these cliffs immediately. I actually had a stalactite just drip on my head. This river is only about 14 kilometers long, but that's not unusual in this kind of watery landscape where streams like the Sao Key feed into longer rivers that empty into the South China Sea not far away. This cruise is one of 2 cruise routes nearby. This one is the Trangan boat trip, but there's another boat trip or series of boat trips that emanate from Tam Coc, which is just a few kilometers away and is also very beautiful. So if you come here, you can choose to go on one or the other or both. You won't be disappointed. Besides being beautiful, the Sao Key River and others like it nearby had strategic appeal for defensive purposes to the early Vietnamese who broke away from China in the 11th century and set up a fortified early capital near here. In terrain like this and with control of the waterways in and out of these natural mountain tunnels, the Chinese, despite trying, were never able to subdue them. if you want to get away, you want to let all of the cares of your world, whatever that is, just sort of drain away, I could think of no better place to do it than in this part of northern Vietnam. So we're about to go back under the mountain through another cave, and unless you knew it was here, you wouldn't even notice it from the highway that runs along it on one side, because the river just practically disappears into these caves. I'm going to point the camera down to the bottom, which you can see it looks maybe 20 to 30 feet deep or more, but just crystal clear. It's just amazing because what appears to be a reflection in the water is really the bottom of this river. Hello. So there goes my lady, moving her boat to another location after ferrying me around for about an hour on the river. Very enjoyable. Just a very short distance from where the boat landed, back at the takeoff spot on the river, is a temple where I am now. A beautiful old temple built into the cliffside overlooking the river. And it is at this place where it is reputed that Vietnam's declared first emperor, Emperor Dinh, actually resided pending the construction of the royal palace at nearby Hoa Lu. There are a variety of artifacts here, including ancient relics that are kept partially behind glass inside one of the cave indentures here. And I say partially because actually one could just reach over the top and touch them. Very telling about the culture of the Vietnamese and the sacredness with which they view this place. These relics, mostly pottery shards, are left unharmed. This beautiful cemetery sits next to a cliff and overlooks the Salki River. And of course it's laid out not so much in with individual gravesites. These are family plots. The names of the families prominently displayed. It's amazing what you can learn from just the dates on tombstones without needing to understand the language. And one of the things that's pretty obvious about this place is that it's not really an old cemetery. Most of the graves here go back no farther than the 1980s. And yet, if you just glanced at it, you would think it's much older. If not for a quirk of history, I might be walking down the street of a great city right now instead of a small farming town in northern Vietnam. Trang An is the keeper of a great Vietnamese legacy, or at least the story of a great legacy. This community may look typical, and it is, but you would never guess that just outside town is what remains of the first capital of Vietnam, inside the historic citadel of Hoa Lu. This citadel of Hoa Lu marks the spot where the first independent polity of Vietnam set up shop in the year 968 CE after breaking away from China. But it wasn't anything like a popular revolution. Rather, 968 marked the year when a Vietnamese warlord named Dinh Bo Linh conquered a dozen other warlords and established himself as founder of the so-called Dinh dynasty. For obvious reasons, this is a revered place to Vietnamese, even though its days in the limelight were few. Just 42 years after Hoa Lu's founding, the succeeding Lê dynasty moved the capital about 90 kilometers away to a place we now call Hanoi. This place is well worth visiting, but you should know that little of what you see here actually dates to the 11th century. Most of it, including the temples honoring Dinh and his wife and daughter, were built in the 17th century and afterward. If you can hear in the distance the electronic music playing, which is outside the main historic area, but still within the site. It's like being at a rock concert while examining ancient ruins. The two just don't mix. I'm in the actual township of Trangan at the moment, several kilometers from where I'm staying in the countryside. But I've stopped at a small temple, a Buddhist temple, which has obviously been here for a very long time, and it appears that it's not perhaps the main temple in town, but it perhaps once was. There are ancient looking drums inside, and of course an altar and some tables and chairs at one end. But the building is padlocked on this day. But directly in front of it is a pond, and then you can see, of course, the carp swimming around in it. Very lovely place, but just typical of these small towns in Vietnam. One of the things that you notice about small towns in northern Vietnam is that at a certain part of the day there's suddenly loud messaging coming from seemingly nowhere. You can look around for it and you wonder, well, where is that loudspeaker?
Phổ thông đặc biệt lớp 12 định hướng cho đề thi năm nay vẫn giữ nguyên như năm trước. Phần trong chương trình trung học phổ thông và sẽ vận dụng thực tiễn ở một số mức rất tiệm cận với định hướng đánh giá năng lực phù hợp với mục tiêu yêu cầu.
Well, that tree, as you can see, is planted with loudspeakers. I have to assume that this is government-sponsored programming. If they weren't turned on, you'd never notice that they were there. But there's no mistaking them when it's program time.
People are friendly here. So are their dogs. They're also proud of their village. You can tell from the murals that decorate the main street's public walls, walls that no one would dare deface. In them, you see a reflection of the community's past. A past that remarkably looks a lot like its present.